You zip up the jacket, pull on the helmet. Nobody's watching, nobody's grading you. You thumb the ignition, the engine wakes up under you, and something in your chest goes quiet. That's not showing off or thrill-seeking. That's something specific happening inside the mind of a rider, and most people never stop to ask what it actually is. Today we're breaking down 5 rare traits found in people who ride. Real research, simple words, no fluff. Stick around for trait 5. It's the one almost nobody sees coming, and it changes how you'll see every rider you pass on the road.
Trait 1. Their brain is wired for new things. In 2019, researchers in Brazil studied over 150 motorcycle riders using a personality test built to measure how a person's brain is wired. Almost 3 out of 4 riders scored high on craving new things, new roads, new routes, new experiences. Their brain gets bored fast, and it needs something fresh to feel alive. At the same time, most riders scored low on fear response. That doesn't mean they feel nothing. It means their brain doesn't sound the alarm as loud as everyone else's does. Where most people freeze up the second something feels uncertain, a rider's mind stays quiet and just keeps working, calmly sorting through the problem instead of panicking about it. Here's the part most people miss completely. The same riders also scored high on sticking with things. Once they commit, they don't quit halfway through. And they scored low on needing approval from other people. They're not doing this for attention. They're doing it because it's simply who they are. Put it together and you get a specific kind of person. Craves new things, doesn't panic easy, doesn't quit, doesn't need your applause to keep going. That's not recklessness, that's rare wiring. And it's the reason a rider can walk into chaos everyone else avoids and somehow stay level-headed. Researchers didn't expect one part of this. The wiring shows up whether the rider is 19 or 59. Riders who've stayed on 2 wheels for decades score even stronger on that low-fear, high-persistence combination, like the years sharpen the trait instead of wearing it down. Trait 2. Riding makes their brain sharper. Here's one almost nobody knows. In Japan, scientists gathered men who used to ride but hadn't touched a bike in 10 years. They put them back on motorcycles, riding to work, nothing extreme, for just 2 months. After 2 months, their brains had actually changed. Their ability to judge space, distance, and movement got noticeably better compared to people who didn't ride at all. Brain scans showed more activity in the front part of the brain, the part in charge of focus and fast decisions. Think about what that means. Most hobbies just pass the time and leave the brain exactly where it started. Riding quietly trains the brain like a workout trains a muscle. Every lean into a curve, every gap judged in traffic, every quick read of the road ahead is basically 1 rep. Do that enough times and the brain gets stronger at paying attention, even when the person has no idea it's happening. That's likely why riders often seem sharper in regular life too. Calmer under pressure, quicker to notice small details other people miss, like a car about to change lanes or a conversation about to go sideways. Their brain has been running drills most people never sign up for. They just call it a hobby. There's a second layer researchers found. The effect wasn't just attention, it was working memory too, the ability to hold several moving pieces of information in your head at once. That's why experienced riders can process a chaotic intersection in a fraction of a second while everyone else is still catching up. Trait 3. Their body stays calm when yours would panic. Scientists at UCLA hooked riders up to real equipment and measured exactly what happens inside their body during a 20-minute ride. The results surprised even the researchers. The rider's main stress hormone dropped by almost 30%. At the exact same time, their heart rate and adrenaline went up, similar to what happens during light exercise. Read that again, because it matters. Their body sped up and calmed down at the exact same moment. Most people's bodies simply can't do both at once. Under real pressure, most of us either freeze or panic outright, and neither one helps in the moment it happens. A rider's body does something different. It gets alert without ever tipping over into panic. That kind of response doesn't happen overnight. It gets built mile after mile until the nervous system learns to treat pressure like it's nothing new. That's likely why some riders seem almost impossible to rattle in everyday life, at work, in arguments, in emergencies, in the moments everyone else falls apart. Their body already knows how to stay steady because it's practiced staying steady thousands of times before. What's wild is how specific this is compared to other adrenaline activities. Skydivers show stress spikes too, but theirs stay high the whole time and only drop once it's over. Riders are different. The calm sets in while the rest is still active, meaning the nervous system isn't just recovering from stress, it's learning to function inside it. Now here's the part we need to be honest about. Everything above is real, but it only counts one way. It counts if riding leaves you calmer once you're off the bike too. There's a real difference between someone who rides because they feel whole and someone who rides because it's the only time they stop feeling anything at all. One of those is a gift, the other is a quiet warning sign worth paying attention to. If you only feel okay while the wheels are moving, that's worth sitting with honestly, no judgment attached. But if riding leaves you clearer and more like yourself once you're back home, keep going, because the next two traits only make sense once that foundation is solid.
Trait 4. They trust strangers instantly. Ever notice riders wave at each other on the road? Total strangers, doing 60 miles an hour, taking a hand off the bars just to say, "I see you." Most people assume it's just tradition. It's actually something deeper. Riders know they're outnumbered on the road and far more exposed than everyone else sitting safely inside a car. So instead of ignoring each other, they actively look out for one another. No app, no introduction, no name exchanged, just two people who understand the exact same risk choosing to acknowledge each other anyway, in a fraction of a second, at highway speed. Most adults don't extend trust to strangers this fast for anything in life. Not at work, not with neighbors, not even with people they've met a dozen times. But riders do it constantly for people they'll likely never see again after that 1 second on the highway. Most of us guard ourselves around people we don't know. Riders do the opposite. They extend trust first and figure out the rest later, without ever really thinking twice about it. This instinct doesn't stay on the highway either. Pull into any gas station and watch what happens when one rider spots another struggling with a stalled bike. There's no hesitation, they just walk over. Sociologists call this instant kinship, a level of default trust that normally takes months to build, compressed into seconds because of one shared detail. They both know exactly what it costs to be out there. Trait 5. The one nobody admits out loud. Here's the trait most people won't say out loud. Multiple studies on attraction looked at people who take moderate, visible risks, not reckless ones, just enough to stand out from everyone else. The results were consistent. People who take some risk get rated as more attractive than people who play everything completely safe, especially for excitement and short-term interest. But there's a catch. Push the risk too far and it flips completely. Too much risk stops reading as attractive and starts reading as dangerous instead. That puts riders in a strange sweet spot, visible enough to be seen as bold, controlled enough to still be trusted, not reckless enough to scare people off, not cautious enough to blend into the background. Science actually backs up something people have quietly said for years, that there's something magnetic about a person who isn't afraid to move through the world. Researchers think this comes down to a fitness signal. Handling visible risk calmly tells people something they can't easily fake, that you're capable under pressure. A rider on an ordinary Tuesday commute is sending that same signal, whether they realize it or not. Add it all together and look at what you're actually looking at. A brain that craves new things and doesn't scare easy. A mind that gets sharper every time it rides. A body that stays calm under pressure most people can't handle. Instant trust extended to strangers who never even get a name, and an edge that other people find hard to ignore, even on the days they'd never admit it out loud. That's not a stereotype anyone made up, and it's not a personality someone bought at a dealership along with the bike. That's a specific kind of person, built slowly through repetition, mile after mile, whether they ever realized it was happening or not. People will keep asking why you love it this much, why you'd rather ride than sit in traffic like everyone else. You don't owe anyone an explanation for that, because somewhere, out on that open road, wind loud and everything else finally quiet, you already know something about yourself that most people will spend their whole life never figuring out.